In this video, I want to talk about the real reason why you're procrastinating. I'm going to give you some insight into how our brain operates and why it often stops us from doing the things that we know we really should be doing. Watch this video to learn more. So if you're watching this video, it's probably because you procrastinate a lot. Maybe you put things off and you come up with these rationalizations about why you can't or shouldn't be doing those things right now. But deep down, you know that if you're going to have any kind of success, if you're going to get any kind of results in this life, then you need to make sure that you actually stick to these things that you're trying to do. Maybe you want to install a gym habit where you go to the gym 3 times a week, and every time you're due to go to the gym, you just come up with these reasons as to why now isn't the right time. Maybe the gym's busy, so you're never going to get onto a machine, or there's traffic on the way to the gym, so it's going to take you ages to get there. It's better just to go tomorrow or next week. Clearly not the right time to go now. Or maybe you're like me, where you're trying to do a video project and record as many videos as possible. Each time you do a video, immediately before, you just experience this feeling of nervousness, or that you're not really ready, that you should spend a little bit more time working on your script, or that you need to refine your ideas a bit more. Now is never the right time to do it, and you keep putting it off. Or maybe you're trying to create a new blog and you want to write a blog post, but every time you sit down to write, you just think, I don't really have anything valuable to say. Let me do some more reading and I'll write this thing tomorrow. I'll write it next week. If any of these strike a chord with you, then you're procrastinating. But the real question is, why are you procrastinating even though you know you should be doing these things? Even though intellectually you know that really good things can come of, for instance, going to the gym 3 times a week, or consistently following a writing schedule or following a video production schedule. You know that only good things can come of this, but you still can't get yourself to do it. Why is that? Well, let's talk a little bit about your brain. So at a very high level, your brain has kind of 2 very distinct parts to it. And one is kind of like the animal brain. This is the thing that really responds strongly to immediate reward and immediate pain. It always wants to go to immediate reward and it wants to avoid immediate pain. This is the type of the brain that really enjoys sex. It really likes food, it likes eating, it likes sleeping, because all of these things, as soon as you do it, you get an immediate reward out of it. This part of the brain cannot understand that if you do something today, you might be able to get a reward next week. It only understands immediacy. It's very simplistic in its nature, but it's also very powerful. It's very systematic. Once something is in your animal brain, or your subconscious mind, as it's sometimes called, it's very easy to stick to things in there. It's like routine. It's soothed by routine and repetition. The other part of your brain is called the prefrontal cortex, and this is like a wise old man. This part of the brain has much more understanding that if you do something now and repeatedly for 3 months or 6 months, then eventually there'll be a good reward at the end of it. It understands the complexities of modern day world. It understands to a greater degree that stuff we do on a regular routine basis can bring big results to us. It understands that if we let ourselves get out of shape now, it can give us heart disease or give us a heart attack in the future. Quite simply, the prefrontal cortex is way smarter than the subconscious mind, but it's not as strong. So essentially what you have here is 2 parts of your brain that are often in conflict with one another. I read a great metaphor about this in a book called The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt. Imagine a small rider perched on top of a huge beastly mammoth, and they're walking down the path, and each time they come to an intersection, there's a battle of wits about which way they should go. The wise man perched on top of the mammoth is smarter. It understands that, okay, if we take this option here on the left, then this is going to be better for us in the long term. We won't get ambushed. And in the short term, it might not be the best option, but in the long term, there's lots of food at the other end of this path and we're going to prosper. But the elephant is all about the here and now. The elephant is just like, okay, we're going this way, because it can see immediate pleasure this way. So it wants to go to the right. So the elephant plods along and trots off to the right, and the rider is trying really hard, struggling on the reins to try and move the elephant to the left path, but he just can't make it happen because the elephant is just so big and powerful that it always wins. And obviously in this metaphor, the rider is the prefrontal cortex, the wise man, and the mammoth is the subconscious mind. It doesn't understand the concept of delayed gratification. It wants pleasure now and it wants to avoid pain now. It's all about immediate rewards. So here's the thing, when you're putting off going to the gym, or you're putting off recording a video, or you're putting off writing an article, what's happening here is that your mammoth, your animal brain, is winning. And the prefrontal cortex, even though it knows it should be doing these things, has to surrender to the battle of wits that it's having with this huge mammoth. And the problem with this is that in the modern day society, if we want to get great results, if we want to be a results getter, if we want to bring success, if we want to create amazing things, then we need to figure out how to manipulate that elephant to go in the direction that the prefrontal cortex wants you to go. Because quite often, frankly, if we want to create amazing things, we have to do hard stuff first. The hard stuff comes before the reward. And to create a great company, or to create a great website, or to create a successful video series, or anything that you're trying to do often requires hour upon hour of doing hard stuff before there's any hint of a reward at the end of it. Many times you're doing all this work and you're getting zero results for the first 6 months or the first year. But you still have to figure out how to make that elephant respect your rider, because the results come in the long term. They come after that. So what's the solution to this problem? How do you actually control this elephant so it goes where you want it to go? Surely you can just use a battle of willpower, right? Now that you understand this concept, you can just try harder and brute force that elephant to go where you want him to go. Unfortunately, this isn't a great solution because that relies on what's called willpower. And this is something that we only have a finite amount of. Every time you make a decision, or every time you get yourself to do something hard that you don't want to do, it takes a little bit of that willpower. It's actually called ego depletion. Once our willpower levels are depleted, we just won't be able to control that elephant anymore, and we'll revert back to the old habits. I'm sure you've had this before. The typical example is New Year's resolutions, right? You resolve that you're going to go to the gym 3 times a week all year round. And for the first 2 weeks, it's easy. You get yourself to go because your willpower is high, your motivation is high. The 3rd week starts to dwindle. You don't really want to go. And by the 4th week, you just quit and you're back to your old ways. Well, that's a great example of willpower depletion. So if just trying harder and just brute forcing your elephant isn't the answer, what is the answer? Well, the answer comes in the form of manipulation. You see, while your unconscious mind is really strong and pretty hard to overpower, it's also pretty stupid. And you can use your prefrontal cortex, you use your intelligence to manipulate it to go the way that you want it to go. One of the most effective techniques for doing this is to make the reward of doing the thing that you want to do more immediate, and to make the pain of not doing it more immediate as well. Of course, because the elephant brain responds to immediacy, this kind of manipulates it into doing the thing that you want to do. An extreme example of this, imagine if you didn't get food unless you went to the gym. If you didn't go to the gym, you would die. Your elephant would respond to that. Your animal brain would completely respond to that. There's no way you'd miss a gym session. And then each time you go to the gym, you get a reward, you get food. So we manipulate the elephant to get it to do what we know is best for us in the long term. So the great thing about the subconscious mind is that it can be programmed, it can change over a long period of time. And that's where habits come in. You see, if you do something for a long enough period of time, these neural associations start building up in your brain, and then it becomes easier to do that thing in the long term. Your subconscious mind starts getting used to the idea that, okay, today we're going to do a video because we always do a video. Or today we're going to write an article because we're always writing articles. The neural pathways are strengthened and it all becomes easier. So the key to beating procrastination is to manipulate your environment and manipulate the elephant long enough for the action you're doing to become habitual, at which point it will get much, much easier for you to sit down and just do it without thinking. It will become automatic. So to summarize, our brain has 2 distinct parts to it, the prefrontal cortex and the subconscious mind, and the 2 are often in conflict with each other. When you find yourself not following through or procrastinating on a task that you know you should be doing, that's your elephant or your subconscious mind winning the battle of wits against your prefrontal cortex. If you really want to create big results and big successes, then you need to try and figure out how to make your prefrontal cortex have more control over what you do. You want to respect that more than you do your animal brain. The way to do that is to make the rewards of doing what you want to do more immediate, and the pain of not doing it also more immediate, so that your animal brain respects it. If you do something for long enough, the neural associations get stronger and it becomes what's called a habit, at which point it's much easier for you to just sit down and get on with it. So that's the high level theory about procrastination, but in future videos I really want to dig deep and give specific examples about how we can really tame the elephant so that it goes where we want to go. Because let's face it, we want to create big results in this life, we want to be successful, we have to get good at doing hard stuff. We have to make sure we do hard stuff on a regular basis, because that's how you make big results. I hope you like this video. If you do like this video, subscribe to the channel. I do videos like this on a weekly basis, and I'll see you again next week.